welcome, folks. Welcome to Winning on Wednesday. My name is Juan Vides, and the purpose we here is to simply get to know each other. I always say people do business so they know, like, and trust. And knowing, liking, and trusting, I'd like to introduce my friend Gayle Rosenblum. How are you?
I'm good, Juan. How are you?
Good. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a matrimonial and family law attorney with offices primarily in Long Island. I handle cases throughout New York, or really should say the five boroughs on Long Island.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And tell us where it all began. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Brooklyn. I'm a city girl. And then my family moved to Staten Island. I lived there until I went to law school.
Oh,
Um,
wow. How old were you when you moved to Brooklyn from Staten Island? And what part of Brooklyn?
uh, I was from I know it's exit 11 off the Bell Parkway, Flatbush. I'm sorry,
Oh,
Flatbush.
Flatbush. Okay.
And yes, and I was 2.5, so I vaguely remember that. Although my grandparents lived there, and we'd go visit.
So you grew up in Staten Island, which is
Yes,
like
I'm
right over the bridge, right, the Verrazano Bridge. So
correct. Yes, you got the
yeah,
right bridge.
the Verrazano. Well, I always see that. What was it? Saturday Night Fever. They have that scene with a lot of great movies done in the Verrazano Bridge, and
Yes,
so you basically grew up in Staten Island, right?
yes.
So there's a bakery on Highland Boulevard that is called Royal Cafe, Cafe Royal, or Royal Cafe. I think it's
That
something like
sounds
that.
about right. Yes, on the
Yeah,
map. I
yeah.
live about 15, 20 minutes from there.
Okay, so they had the pignoli cookies, and I remember every time that I would go through Staten Island or have to go through, to Jersey, let's just say, because everybody goes to Terrasan, I make sure I stop there to get my pignoli cookies. So at that bakery, it's really good. Good food, by the way.
Yes. I used to work at a bakery, but in Heartland Village.
Oh, okay. So
Yes,
no,
in high school.
yeah, and I've the Goodfellas pizzas is there, so it's a really good. My friend used to live there, so it's pretty cool. And then so tell us about what did you want to be? Did you have any inspirations to become a lawyer when you were a kid, or did you have the different ideas, or did you always wanted to be?
So when I was as young as 8, 9 years old, and I think my mom probably still saved the notebook. I wrote in my school notebook that yes, what I wanted to be grew up was an attorney,
Oh, wow.
wearing a three-piece suit, like wearing a vest and everything in a courtroom. I used to get caught up in watching Judge Wapner, and maybe I'm dating myself in People's Court. And
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. That was the idea of it. Did I really think one day that was going to happen? I don't know. But yes, I can say that at that young age, I did want to become an attorney.
That's amazing. That's pretty wild. And what about your role models? Who were role models at that time, or did you have different role models? And we all have different role models as we change.
So what's
As we-
interesting is, and it ties into, I guess, of who I am, is there's no like a specific celebrity or politician or professor or anything like that. I am a first generation American. And I have to say that my mother, believe it or not, has been my role model in the sense of continuing to go after what I want to do. And regardless of whatever obstacles come in your way, is to keep going. And I definitely would say it's my mom.
Oh, that's great. And wow, so she inspired and motivate you.
Yes,
That's amazing. And what's it's nice as a parent now, you kind of reflect and you start thinking about all the things your parents tell you, as a parent, and you become older and wiser, and you're like, wow, some of these things, but that discipline and having that support is really good to make you successful.
absolutely.
What about hobbies and careers? Did you have any hobbies and careers?
So my career didn't start out in law. I started out in business. I have a business background. I didn't go right to law school. So I worked for a year at a Price Waterhouse Coopers. I was a business major, minored in Spanish, although my mother speaks 5 different other languages, not Spanish. And I speak fluently one language. So my career in that sense, beginning on, started in a different industry altogether. But I always wanted to go to law school. So I had worked for 1 year to see what it was like in big corporate. It was not for me, and I went to law school. And that's how I pretty much started my career. And then I took family law course at night with a professor who was a very big inspiration to me going forward in my career and narrowing where I want to be, so to speak, in law, because law is huge. There's so many different areas of law. And so many people I know even go to law school and don't even practice law. But in any event, she really had an impact on my career as a family law professor. And that put me on my way, so to speak, in this field. As far as hobbies, I love boating. I love being outdoors. I don't play sports as much as I would like to. I've played a little bit of golf. You don't want to play with me if you play. Or tennis. Those are things I'd like to do, but I don't have time to do. If I do like shopping, to some degree, like no, more than anybody else, maybe just a little more than others. But yes, and spending time with my kids, which is not a hobby, but it's my lifestyle.
Sure, yeah. Out of curiosity, have you picked up pickleball yet?
So it's funny, if you ask other friends of mine, I played pickleball once and I had a fabulous time. And I said, I want to do it at least once a week, once a month. It's been months and I haven't played it, but I loved it.
Okay.
That is my goal now with the warm weather coming, is to play some pickleball. I can't say a lot, but as much as.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because I remember in Jones Beach, the boardwalk on Jones Beach, I see people playing pickleball. They have pickleball courts on the boardwalk on Jones Beach. So it's really interesting about that. So
It's a lot of fun.
oh yeah, and it looks like it's very active and people get a good workout out of it. So,
Definitely.
yeah. So at this time, I would like to call the golden nugget moment, and the golden nugget moment is something that that you've learned, what information that you like to share that can help somebody be a better business person, better their career. Is there any information that you learned from your journey of your career?
Two things I would say is focus. Don't lose sight of where you're going, or even though like you may not have a particular road that you're on, things are going to come up. You're going to have to deal with it. And you can't go backwards in life. You can always only go forward. And we learn what's happened in the past, and that's what makes us stronger.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's songs about that, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't tell you, makes you stronger.
Yep.
So definitely go, sometimes roll with the punches, see what happens, because you never know, and stay focused.
That is true. Yeah. You got to go with the punches. And to add that, I wanted to say something. Pat Riley, who was the Knicks coach, he has said something really interesting. He said a very interesting quote that resonated with me. And the quote he said, "It doesn't matter what happens to you in life, it's the way you deal with things."
100%.
And to add to what you just said, it really is, because you can, be upset and do nothing, or you could do something about it and make, there's another Chinese proverb. They say, don't shout at the candle, just light a light, or light the candle instead of, in other words, saying an action, doing an action instead of
Yes.
and don't, to your point, as don't dwell in the past. Just work in the moment and be present in the moment, and don't worry about the future either. But wow, that's great information, great advice, by the way. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, do you belong to any networking groups or communities or organizations?
I am proud to say I'm on the executive board of Long Island Against Domestic Violence.
Oh, wow.
I've been involved in that organization since 2008, I want to say, but I've only been on the executive board since 2017. They are an incredible organization. Yes, coincidentally does tie into what I do for a living, but they help people tremendously. I'm also involved in my local place of worship, where I donate my time to feed the hungry and things of that nature. Locally, I also belong to various bar associations and things of that nature. And if they have events, I try to participate. As far as networking is concerned, I don't belong to big overall networking groups for business purposes, but I do belong to small boutique-like, I would say, groups. I know during the pandemic, I would belong to a Connects group, which I don't believe is still around anymore. But yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's not easy, but The thing is, what I tell any entrepreneur is like when business is slow or or even business is good, it's always good to network once in a while because you always don't take things for granted. Don't say it's gonna be, it's always gonna be
You
good.
couldn't be more right. My biggest, what I think is great in general and I'm a real positive believer with networking groups. My belief is I'm not there to necessarily grow business with the people that I meet, but to also gain resources and that I can be a resource for those people as well. So that, and then in turn, they'll think of me because what I do for a living impacts everybody and anybody. It doesn't have to be that particular person, but they'll think of me. So I'm looking to build a group of resources, really. So that helps. So like, okay, that I know who I can count on based upon me actually getting to know the person behind the business. So
Yeah, definitely. Now that we got to know you, tell us about your services. Tell us what what your law firm. I mean, your family law firm. How many? Tell us about the history again. And
yeah, so I'm happy to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have been on my own practice for over 20 years, or just under 20 years actually. Let me rephrase that. But I started my own practice, Law Offices of Gayle Rosenblum, PLLC, January of this year. Previously, I was in a partnership. So times are changing, I think, in a positive way. My office handles all areas in matrimonial and family law, also known as the divorce lawyer or divorce law, legal separation. We handle cases, matters, I should say, involving couples, families, to resolve their differences by way of negotiation, litigation if need be, as well as mediation. Mediation is when I would be working with two individuals together to come up with a resolution. Whereas litigation or negotiation for me just representing one individual, where it can be adversarial in
you do,
nature.
and you do arbitration as well, or
I think arbitration and mediation are sort of similar, but in my field, it's considered mediation. If people came to me to arbitrate it, like a financial dispute regarding their marital differences, yes. So that, yes, I can do that as well. Absolutely.
and Gail, you probably didn't know this about me, and I'm gonna disclose this out there publicly. I'm actually part owner of a mediation arbitration firm. I'm part owner.
That's wonderful.
A
Yeah.
small minority stake owner, but the fact that I'm part owner of a arbitration and mediation firm. So, the difference from what I'm told, because I'm not a lawyer, I play one on TV.
Uh-huh.
But from what I'm told, the difference is one is a judgment and one is not a judgment.
Yeah, so like if
One's a
people,
forced judgment.
that's absolutely correct. So that it would be by decision rendered by a fee arbitrator. If it's also financially related or a decision making, yes, would be bounding that you could submit to a court of law. So generally, no, I don't handle that. But as far as resolving disputes between two individuals,
Hmm.
yes, I'm happy to assist. And yes, I do. I mean, I do that on a daily basis.
Now, I have done over 100 law firm websites, and I work with a lot of lawyers. So I'm just curious because I actually, believe it or not, I have a couple of divorce clients, and I got them on the first page of Google. So one of them is for a divorce attorney, Brooklyn, and he's on the
Uh-huh.
first page of Google. It's really interesting because I don't want to say too much information, but one of the things that he's focusing is non-resolutional, the divorce, the non
Uncontested versus
uncontested divorce.
contested. Yes.
Yes, uncontested divorce. I'm sorry, but that we're focusing on that because and he's getting more busy with that as opposed to regular, going in court and litigating, and going to trial for it's a very
Look, I encourage clients, if it's humanly possible, to stay out of court. But there are times, a lot of times that you can't. So you don't want to put good money after bad. If you know you can't resolve your differences as much as you try, like you put your best foot forward, you try and you can't, then yes, you have to go to court. But nobody wakes up each day and says, I can't wait to go to court. People would like to resolve their difference, but when you have two people that either have the same exact position and is not willing to compromise in any which way, shape, or form, or worse yet, somebody's not truthful in their position and what's really going on. Not my clients, but is not, is not truthful, you really don't have any other alternative. You try, and if you can't, then that's the way to go. So, and I enjoy going to court as much as I enjoy trying to negotiate a resolution amicably and outside of court. So
Yeah.
I wear multiple hats in my field.
And almost like a therapist too. You always got to be a therapist to some of these people because you have to listen to their problems. And it's not easy.
I'm very empathetic to every individual going through their differences, even if it's a prenuptial agreement. It's also it's an uncomfortable conversation sometimes to have, because it revolves around money, but it's very common these days, a prenuptial agreement, as well as the postnuptial agreement, which again, it's not usually adversarial, but sometimes it takes certain people by surprise of some of the terms that somebody may or may not want in it. So we work through all of those dynamics.
And you do prenups as well, right?
Yes.
Prenups. Yeah. And I'm just curious, has that number have gone up over the years, prenup, or is not really, or stay stagnant in your
I would
opinion?
say most recently within the past 6 months, I've done quite a bit. Yeah.
For prenups.
Yeah.
Okay.
Prenups. I'm working on a postnup now, which is after you
Really?
get married.
I didn't know that.
Postnup.
I
Yep.
didn't know. I didn't know there was such a thing as a postnup.
Yep. Prenup before, postnup after. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. That you learn something every day. See, this is the beauty of these interviews is that you learn something and you put this information out there. And I've been working with a lot of divorce attorneys. I didn't even know that there was no such thing as a postnup.
Yes. And there's even such a thing as a marital agreement.
Marital
People
agreement.
can
Wow.
decide how they're going to handle their finances while
Wow.
they're married. So, example, you and I are married.
Uh-huh.
You make all the money, and I don't work, and you pay all the bills. But regardless, everything we can figure out that you're going to pay all the bills, and I'm still going to collect a portion of X amount of your whatever assets that we acquire.
Let me ask you a
Things of
question.
that nature.
Since we're on the topic right now, isn't it true that New York state law is 50%? Is that how it works with
I'm
these
glad
spouses?
you asked. There's no statutory law that says 50-50. The term, the legal term is equitable distribution. That's the division of assets of anything acquired during the course of the marriage that's considered marital in nature, without getting too much further into the difference between what's separate property and what's marital property. And that's usually what I go over with somebody that comes in for a consultation. So anything acquired during the course of the marriage is marital, and it's subject to be distributed. There is a general presumption, but not the law, that depending on the duration of the marriage, it would be 50-50. New York is not a title-driven state. In other words, who holds title does not dictate how the asset's going to be distributed.
Can you give us some examples? I'm obviously not going into details, but some of your successful cases that you helped out, so other people, so you can get a general idea of how you practice.
Example of
notable cases that you've had throughout the years. That,
look, I've done a few appeals, and after going to full-on trials in Supreme Court, I'm having a father, two separate fathers with same mother, two different fathers, get custody of their children. And even went up on appeal on one of them. The other one did not go on appeal. One went up on appeal, and it was affirmed. And it definitely was, I think, a success overall, and yet a very sad situation for the overall family picture, because unfortunately, people's emotions run wild, and but at the end of the day, the right thing came through, and that's what I think is important.
Wow. Do you deal a lot with child custody?
Yes. Yes, I was this morning in court on a neglect case, actually.
Oh, wow.
And then it's turning into a custody determination involving 3 children. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Custody, child support, orders of protection, which I take very, very, very seriously.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you hear in the news all this time. I mean, you just saw the case in the news about the father with the child. It's sad, and you hear all these the horrible stories. So, listen, I commend what you do because you are definitely helping these kids, and hopefully with their better future, what you do, with the law, and that's the last thing you can have is that the law protects these childs, because if it wasn't for the law, these kids or these families, we would know where they would be.
And to stay steadfast, like to keep going, like, as bad as it gets, you still keep going and try to, to corroborate whatever documents, whatever you have that can help and be diligent about it. And it's okay to follow up, and it's okay to reach out, even if it's to the courts. The courts, are there to help everybody. So,
Right.
sometimes everybody needs a friendly reminder every now and then, just for follow up with things like that, if a decision hasn't come or anything like that, but it's okay to do that. So,
Okay.
for the benefit of your client, at least that's how I look at it.
Oh, thank you, Gail. And listen, thank you for sharing your story. And if people want to get to learn more about you and get in contact you, what's the best way to contact you?
Either at my office phone number, 631-927-7770, or my website is grfamilyanddivorcelaw.com. I'm on the internet. Yes, I think that's probably the best way.
All right, Gail, thank you so much. And if you'd like to be a member of Winning on Wednesday, simply go to our website, www.winningonwednesday.com, and sign up as a first-time guest. And we'll thank you again, and hope to see you next time.